Hello, Wellness Warriors. I have decided to come live today. I know I said I wasn't going to be here last week, but I just love talking to you guys. So today, I actually wanted to talk about a conversation that started in the comments while I was on vacation. I have several requests asking me to talk about what I eat in a day. So we're going to talk about the fact that I just came back from Vegas this morning, and I wasn't in control of my food all week long. So I want you guys to understand how I manage my food when I couldn't cook for myself, so I'm not controlling anything, so that you can learn how to choose your food correctly. And I'm hoping that by the end of this video, you're going to not only know exactly what I ate, because I'm going to tell you, but you're going to understand why it doesn't even matter. If you're meeting me for the first time, I'm Violet, and I like to talk about how physical health and mental health working well together is what gives us that overall sense of well-being. To have these things, you need to have good health. So let's talk about the food you're eating. Now, the first thing I want to point out is the reason that we go on vacation, right? We go on vacation because we want to have fun. And for a lot of us, the idea of not being able to eat whatever the heck we want to eat when we're on vacation doesn't sound like fun. I want to take this a step further, though, because we want to have fun all the time. And for me, that's an everyday endeavor. Every single day of my life, I want to feel like I'm enjoying myself. But we work, and we have families to take care of, and we have all kinds of responsibilities. And one thing that I see happening, I see people, because they're so busy and they can't go off and see friends and they can't go off and do their activities, they start having fun with the food that we're putting on our plate. And I want to just pause right now and say, I think that's a mistake. We are using food as entertainment, and that's ending up hurting us because, of course, when we eat foods that are not, so when we're eating for fun, a lot of the time we'll eat things like chips and cookies and ice cream. And so that gets us into trouble. So the first thing I want us to think about when you're asking me what I eat in a day, I want to back us all up and talk about what is the best diet. And for me, the absolutely most basic answer to that is the best diet is the diet that keeps you the healthiest. Doctors, nutritionists, scientists seem to be confused about what diet keeps us the healthiest. So I'm going to share with you that the diet that has been keeping me the healthiest has been a keto diet. So I've done standard Canadian diet, which is basically eat whatever you want in moderation. And I've also done low fat when I was trying to manage my weight. So when I was being good, I would do low fat. And now I'm doing a keto lifestyle, a keto diet. So in terms of what is best for the body, for me at this moment in time, that seems to be what keeps me the healthiest. How do I know that? My inflammation has gone away. My weight has regulated. So we know what Dr. Berg said, a healthy body regulates its weight. My weight is regulated. And my pain, so all the aches and pains that I used to have, knee, shoulder, back, neck, hip, all the pains are gone. Now there's another kind of diet that I could talk about, which is the most sustainable diet. What diet is the easiest for us to do long term? And when I think about that diet, what comes to me is the most fun, the most tasty. That's a diet that's easy to do. And I think that's why most people always end up back on a standard diet, because it's tasty and it's easy. So the meals are easy. You can pick up fast food. You can make a standard meal easily. There's a lot of vegetables in it and fruits, so you can easily grab something to eat. A lot of processed foods in it. Again, easy to grab something to eat. So that's the most sustainable diet because it's easy and it's fun. And it kind of encompasses everything we can possibly eat. And now, the third diet I want you to think about is the diet that you have for yourself. So in your mind, what is your goal when you're asking or talking about diet? So when you're asking me, what do I eat in a day? What goal do you have for yourself in wanting to know that information? And Wellness Warrior, I think what you're going to realize is that what you're truly looking for is the best diet. So the diet that's going to keep you the healthiest. That's also fun to eat. You're trying to marry these two ideas together, which I think is a good idea. Because obviously, if the diet that I'm eating is also fun to eat, I'm much more likely to stick to my diet. So let's talk about what I eat. So I choose the foods that I choose because, first and foremost, carb count. I always choose the food that has the lowest carb count because I learned that my inflammation, pain, weight gain, metabolic problems that I was living was caused by the amount of sugar that was in my diet. So sugar, carbohydrates, 2 words for the same thing. So I choose my foods based on that. The lowest carb count is first. The second thing that I think about is metabolic health. So these two things are kind of really tightly tied together. I'm choosing foods that I believe would do the least amount of negative in terms of metabolic health. So they're not going to cause inflammation. So having things like oxalates in them or lectins so I'm choosing foods that, to my knowledge, don't have things in them that would cause me to have poor health, that would cause my weight to rise, or that would cause any kind of internal damage. We're going back to this idea of sugar again, because sugar causes all those things, but then there's other things in plants that also cause those things. And I personally have some allergies that I also have to pay attention to. So the reason that I, for example, wouldn't be choosing, let's say, beef would be because I have an allergy to beef. I also don't choose nightshades because I have an allergy to nightshades. So those, again, are vegetables and fruits vegetables and a meat that would harm my metabolic health. And then the next thing that I will talk about is taste. So that's the final reason that I would choose a food, is that I want it to be tasty, because if it doesn't taste good, I know myself, I'm not going to eat it. I also want it to taste good enough that I like to eat it, but not so, I'm not looking for it to be so amazing that I want to have it every 5. I'm not looking for foods that get me to chase, because at the same time, I want to maintain my weight. So I'm looking for foods that fit these categories. So while we were on vacation, I had the lovely opportunity to not have to cook for a whole week, which anybody that knows me knows that that's my favorite thing in the world, that I didn't have to cook. And while I was on vacation, we did not pre-plan where we were going to eat. So Pat and Pat also ate keto, just like I did over the vacation. We did not plan where we were going to eat. We, day by day, depending on what neighborhood we were in Vegas, so what part of Vegas we were in, it was all in Vegas, but we decided what we were going to eat. So first day that we were there, we had Korean barbecue, which if anybody's had Korean barbecue, you know that when you go to these restaurants, you're cooking your own meats on a grill. There was the opportunity to have off the menu rice and a lot of vegetables and this kind of thing. We did not choose any of those things. There were some little vegetable spicy things on the table. Pat had some of those. I didn't have any. Then those are to spice your meat, or to finish seasoning your meats. So that was what we did on the Sunday when we arrived. On the Monday, we had the opportunity to go see a few shows. And by the time the evening was over, we decided we were just going to fast that evening. So there was no meal on the Monday, because it was late and we weren't hungry so we were fine. On the Tuesday, I had ribs. Pat also had ribs and I believe a salad. No, and he also had some coleslaw. And then on the Wednesday, let me back up. On the day that we had ribs, again, on the menu, there's French fries and it's a normal restaurant with all the different possibilities to order, all the things that we might want to be tempted by. The Wednesday I had pork chops, salad, spinach, and calamari. Pat also had calamari, and I can't remember what meat he had, but he also had salad and spinach. This meal, again, in a normal restaurant, any possibility to have whatever we wanted. The Thursday, we decided to go back to Korean barbecue, had a very similar meal. No, I didn't order any extras. No, he didn't order any extras. And then on the Friday, we went to a Brazilian barbecue place, which was really fun. And on that meal, I had only meat and a piece of cheese. And then on the Saturday, I had a pork chop, salad, more calamari, Brussels sprouts with bacon. And finally, on the Sunday, which was the day that we were returning home, we had eggs with cheese and bacon and a side of guacamole. The guacamole had onions in it. I picked my onions out. So, as you could see, each of those scenarios, I had absolutely the opportunity to be tempted by something that wasn't in my normal meal plan. And I had a question of people asking, what stops me from being tempted? And the interesting thing for me is that I don't believe it's about temptation. I believe it's about responsibility. Because we're always tempted, by lots of stuff. If we're going to talk about it in that term, right? As soon as something's presented in front of me, theoretically, I could say I'm tempted. If I'm out in the world and I see other men, theoretically, I'm tempted. If I'm in a restaurant where there's alcohol, theoretically, I'm tempted. For almost anything that we do in life, we could say that we're tempted. I could have been tempted not to come live today. I could be tempted not to go to work. So I don't think it's about temptation as much as I think it is about taking responsibility for the choices that I make. You see, Wellness Warrior, one thing that I figured out is that when I don't feel good, I'm the one that's living it. Nobody else feels this. It's me. The same way that if I don't go to work, I'm the one that's not making money. Nobody else feels that but me. If I were to do something to get Pat upset because I talked to some other dude, I'm the one that's going to suffer for that. Nobody else. And the question then becomes, well, then why would I do it? What benefit is it going to give my life for me to give in to temptation? I guess if that's how we're going to look at it. And I don't see it that way. I see it as, am I being responsible for my choices and my actions? Am I deciding for myself what I'm going to eat? And now I want to put it back at you, because I want you to think about how you should be choosing your foods. Should you be focused on your health goals, so weight loss, metabolic strength, or should you be focused on entertaining yourself with food? And I think that when we stop and really, truly answer that question, we realize that it's not about temptation. Every time you choose to eat something off plan, that's you choosing to eat something, that's you saying that your health is not as important as this fun food that's in front of you. And I want you to question that, Wellness Warrior, because down the road, when your weight's not what you want it to be, or heaven forbid, down the road, when your health is not what you want it to be, that will be you in a bad situation, and that will be you suffering for something that you ate months, maybe even years ago. Because, it starts how far back, right? We have a 7-year window. The body, 7 to 10 years. The body that I'm sitting in right here, I started to make it 7 to 10 years ago. Now, 5 years ago, I changed how I was eating. And look at the results I've been able to achieve and maintain, and I'm not done yet. That's the other thing that I want us all to think about. I'm not done yet. my body isn't perfect because it takes 7 to 10 years to rebuild one of these. I still have possibly a good 5 years ahead of me of rebuilding before my body is in its peak condition that it will be in going forward. That, only if I keep eating properly. Wellness wear. The mistake we make is that we get down to our weight or close to it, and then we stop doing what we were doing because it's too hard, because I'm tempted, because all the excuses we give ourselves, rather than realizing that me saying yes to eating properly is me saying yes to better health. It's me saying yes to possibly a longer life. It's me saying yes to playing with my grandchildren rather than just having to look at them because I'm too sore to pick them up and to fool around with them. These are things that I want. And I hope that you want them. I want them for you. The secondary thing that I want you to think about when you're looking at what you're going to eat is, do I have any allergies that I know about? Am I paying attention when I do eat better to see if any allergies present themselves, show themselves? One of the ways that we find out that we have allergies is by doing an elimination diet. When we do an elimination diet, we take our foods down really, really narrow. And then as we add one thing back at a time, slowly, we can start to see if there's anything we're reacting to. That's how I figured out my nightshade issue. And I feel like we don't give ourselves enough time to really look at what is it that my body is doing when I eat certain things, first of all. But I think the other thing that I want to talk about today is that we don't let ourselves understand that 6-month habituation. So I've talked about this before. If I go on a diet and I calorie restrict, about 6 months into the diet, my body figures out how much energy is coming in, and then it will redistribute, and I will stop losing weight if I'm doing a standard, typical diet. It's part of the reason that calorie in, calories out doesn't work. What we don't let ourselves understand is that our body does that for every process. So when I improve the way that I'm eating, then my body gets used to the way that I'm eating. And if I've improved it in a good way so that what I've achieved is positive and my health improved, then all of a sudden I will be able to see if there are more improvements to be made. Again, this is how I figured out I had a problem with nightshades. By taking the sugar in my diet really low, sugar wasn't assaulting my body anymore. And when sugar wasn't assaulting my body, well, guess what? I was able to see that nightshades were causing problems. And then by taking nightshades out of my diet, I kept moving forward, and I was able to see that, there's certain oils that were messing with me too. And they're healthy oils. It's not that they're bad oils. It's just that for some reason, my skin was reacting. What's my point? If I have a cluttered basement, all I can see is the clutter. But if I go down to the basement and I clear up all the boxes and I give stuff to Goodwill and I clean up and I can see the floors and I can see the walls, I might then be able to see that, oh my gosh, there's a crack and there's water on the floor in my basement. Would not have been able to see that until I cleared it up. And then I might go, and as I'm trying to fix that crack, maybe I'm going to find out that there's a problem in the foundation. Well, I wouldn't have known if all that clutter was still there. Sugar's the clutter. And then there's these other things that end up being problematic that we learn about. So maybe it's nightshades like me, or red meats like me, or some other something that you don't know until you actually dig a little deeper and find out. Now, most people don't have thalassemia. That's what's causing my red meat issue. I knew that before I did keto because it's a pretty serious condition. But my point is, what happens if there is something that sugar is covering, like my nightshade issue, that just keeps me feeling bad, kind of under the radar because it's not as bad as sugar? So letting yourself understand the allergies is the second reason that I want you to slow down and really pay attention to what you're eating, because as you improve what you eat, then your body is going to start to be better at letting you know what's good and what's not good. When you have pain, inflammation, fatigue, brain fog, emotional negatives, sometimes that's your body trying to tell you, hey, that thing you just ate, no, don't eat that again. And we ignore it. We blame it on all kinds of other things. So I want you to pause and let yourself see those things. I'm going to say that the third thing that you're going to use to figure out what you should be eating is actually taste. I can't tell you what you should be eating because I don't know what meats you actually like. For example, poultry, a lot of people can eat and they love it. I do eat poultry. I cannot stand duck. I hate it. Duck is I find just gross. And turkey, I'm not too fond of turkey either. Where I know lots of people that love duck and love turkey. I love avocados. Some people can't stand avocados. I know a lot of people love beef. I don't eat it. So, asking me what I'm eating isn't going to give you what you think it's going to give you. Because first of all, it's not going to help you make a meal plan that you're going to love, because even if you were to cook chicken and pork 90% of the time, which is what I do, you're not going to spice it the same way that I spice it. Right? You're not going to make the same things with it that I make with it. And so therefore, it still doesn't help you to know what I ate. I just gave you a list of all the things I ate this week. It's not going to help you to make your meal plan. Because, by the way, I eat almost no veg. This week, I had 3 servings of veg. I was on vacation. But typically, I have 1 serving max, well, maybe 2 max, I would say, per week. Usually it's 1 or sometimes even none of vegetables per week. And so, fruits and vegetables. So I'm talking about olives and avocado. So it was an odd scenario for me, but they happened to have vegetables that I was okay with. So I took them. Okay. How does this help you though? Because that's the important thing. And how it helps you is what you really need to do is focus on what you're trying to achieve. Do you have weight to lose? Do you have some kind of metabolic issue to solve like I did? If you do, how much carb are you actually eating? And how will you get yourself down to the carb number that helps you to be in a healthy state? For myself, 20 grams of carbs is still too much for me to be in a healthy state. That's why I have to do, I do less than 10 grams. I have to be less than 18. I do less than 10 for sure. And most of the time I do none to make sure that I'm under my 18. What's your number? And this is another one of those things, right? Because you're not going to know what your actual number is until you get to a lower number and see how you manage. And then how do you manage? So do you get to goal weight? Do you easily maintain that, or does it start to pull you down? So it's another part of the story, is that are you able to maintain at that number? So not just get down to goal weight, but you're not just constantly dropping. Now, we don't have to maintain our weight with carbs, though. We can maintain our weight by eating healthy protein and fat. I want you to consider that the healthiest thing that you can do for yourself is figure this out. So that's just step 1. What's the goal you're trying to achieve? And how are you going to do this? But then once you figure that out, which foods on my plate are allowing me to accomplish that number under 20 grams, whatever that number under 20 grams is, what's helping me to accomplish that number that I actually like to eat? If your meal plan is not delicious, you're not going to stick to it. The truth of the matter is, even though I eat 2 meats and 2 vegetables 99% of the time, I like them. They're fine for me. And I get my entertainment elsewhere. I do not get my entertainment from food. My daughter and I go climbing, and Pat goes climbing, and the boys go climbing with us sometimes. We go longboarding. We just came back from this vacation. So we do fun things together as a family. We do fun things together as a couple. I do fun things one-on-one with the kids. So because we do fun things together, I'm not looking to my food to give me entertainment. I'm trying to encourage you not to look to your food to give you entertainment, because that's what gets us into trouble. I hope that this is helping you to make a better plan for yourself. I have a list, a playlist in the description below that talks about the 3 rules that you really need to understand to be able to stick to a keto diet long term. I want you to check those videos out, because I think it's going to help you put into practice the mindset that we need to do keto in a healthy way and get our body to the place you want to get it to, and get our health to the place you want to get it to. And I just want to let you guys know that I am going to be back next week, Monday. I would love to know what topics that you have for me. If you're here live, you can put it in the chat. If you're on the replay, you can give me your questions in the comments, because I want to answer more questions like this. And if the more specific you are, the more specific I will be in my answer, because I want you to know how to do keto in a healthy way. And I want you to understand that, people try to tie you to their channel, to their program, by making things seem more complicated than they are. And that's not necessary. I have a group, and you can join the group if you'd like. And it's about us talking to each other. It's not about, I'm transparent. Like, we need to talk to each other, to support each other, to get where we want to get to. And that's what the group is about. I'm probably just going to sign off now and go take a nap. Got to work tomorrow. And I really do look forward to talking to you guys again next Monday. It'll be at 11:20-ish in the morning. So put your questions and comments in the description so that I can answer them for you. Bye, everybody.